We're all kind of handed a script for what success is supposed to look like, right? The fancy job, the money, the house. But what if that script wasn't actually written for you? Well, today, we're going to dig into a whole new way of looking at success, one that's personal, that's fulfilling, and that's uniquely yours.
This question, wow, it really gets to the heart of a feeling so many of us have. That sense of being incredibly busy. You're checking all the boxes, achieving things, but you still feel like something is, well, off. You're making progress for sure, but is it in the right direction?
And that feeling, it actually has a name. You can think of it as the hamster wheel of achievement. It's that nonstop cycle of chasing the next goal, the next promotion, the next thing society tells you is a success, just hoping that this time it'll bring that lasting satisfaction. But let's be real, it often just makes the wheel spin faster, leaving you totally exhausted and no closer to what actually fulfills you.
And that's exactly why we need to redefine the whole term. Just forget the one-size-fits-all trophy. Real personal success isn't something you win. It's a blueprint that you design for yourself. It's totally unique to your life, your passions. For one person, yeah, that might be financial wealth. But for someone else, it could be creative freedom. There is no single right answer here.
Okay, so if the old map is wrong, how in the world do you draw a new one? Well, we can actually use a pretty straightforward framework to go from this kind of messy problem to a really practical solution.
So this 5-part map is your starting point. Let's just walk through it real quick. First up, career. Forget the job title for a second. What do you truly want to do? Next, health. What does peak physical and mental well-being actually look and feel like for you? Then we have relationships. How do you want to show up for the people who matter the most in your life? Fourth, financial. What does independence really mean to you? It's different for everyone. And finally, personal growth. What skills do you want to learn? Or, who do you want to become?
This map is great. It shows you all the possible destinations. But to actually navigate the terrain and choose the right path for you, well, for that, you're going to need a compass. And that compass, it's your core values. And this really highlights a fundamental conflict, a sort of tug of war. Society is always pushing us toward those external metrics, the job titles, the salary numbers, the public praise. But your internal compass, it's pointing toward something else entirely. It's pointing toward fulfillment and purpose and authenticity. It's guiding you to live by your own values, even when the world is screaming about all those external rewards. All right, so here's the moment of truth. And you got to be honest with yourself here. When you look at your daily life, your job, your schedule, how you're spending your time, is there a gap between what you say is important to you and what your actions actually reflect? And hey, this isn't about judgment, not at all. It's about diagnosis. Spotting that gap is the very first step toward closing it. Here's exactly what that gap feels like in the real world. You say your number one value is family, but your reality is 12-hour workdays. That tension you feel, that little knot in your stomach, that's the feeling of misalignment. It's your internal compass just blaring, trying to warn you that you're off course. Or hey, think about this one. You value creativity. It's a huge part of who you are, but your daily work is just monotonous and repetitive. Sure, that job might provide a paycheck. That's an external metric, but it will probably never bring you that deep satisfaction, that internal alignment. So, what is your compass pointing to? What are your non-negotiables? This list here, it's just a starting point to get you thinking. Is it integrity? A real thirst for growth? Maybe deep community bonds? Or that call to adventure? Just take a second and try to identify your top 3 to 5. These become the guiding stars for literally every decision you make. And this brings us to the single most important idea in all of this. Success isn't something you find. It's something you define. You don't just stumble upon it on a map. You construct it, day by day, based on your own blueprint. It's an active, creative process, not some passive search. And that brings us to the final and most crucial question. Because this isn't just about theory, right? It's about action. So, look at your core values and look at your daily reality. What is one small, concrete action you can take today to close that gap, even just a tiny bit? It doesn't have to be some huge, monumental change. It just has to be a start. So what will yours be?